Welcome to the CER discussion of PS3 number one. This is a mini CER. This is going to be our post-assessment discussion. So this is what you had. Matt thinks the clock is a system, as seen in the picture, is not moving because there are no horizontal forces acting on it. So Matt thinks that this clock sitting on a table is not moving because there's no horizontal forces acting on it. Below is a correctly completed interaction table, force model, and free body diagram for this scenario. So we've worked with all of these in class, and according to this, these are correct. Now, it goes on to say, is Matt correct with his assumption that the clock system, as seen in the picture, is not moving because there are no horizontal forces acting on it? So I'm going to get rid of this because there should be on it, not on the it. So there's no horizontal forces acting on it. So we got to make a claim. We're going to defend our claim with evidence, and we're going to use appropriate scientific arguments to link the claim and evidence back to our reasoning. So even though it says make a claim first, most of the time we don't want to make a claim first. We want to look at our evidence. Does the evidence justify a certain claim? So when we look at our evidence should be sufficient. We have to have enough of it in order to make a claim in science. Is it appropriate? So we're going to use the data to support our claim. We're going to leave out information that doesn't support the claim. Then we have both qualitative and quantitative information using our senses or using numbers. A lot of times we'll have one, we'll have the other, or we'll have both. If you have access to both, you want to use both. Use as much evidence as you can. So when we look at our rubric, in order to be proficient, you have to provide appropriate evidence. It's got to be written in a way that does not contribute to full understanding, but contributes to some understanding. If it would be full understanding, then we'd give you an advanced score. And you got to use your qualitative and quantitative information. So let's look at the evidence. Again, what do we want to find out? We want to find out, is Matt correct with his assumption that the clock system, as seen in the picture, is not moving because there are no horizontal forces acting on it? So is this true? Well, we're going to find out. So let's look at these things. Let's look at our interaction table, our force model, and our free body diagram. So it's hard to tell from here, but when I look at the clock, I don't notice any horizontal arrows. So I'm going to write down, according to the force model, there are only two vertical forces acting on the clock, and there are no horizontal forces acting on the clock. It would have been easy just to say, oh, there's no horizontal forces acting on the clock, but I want it to be more detailed than that. And you'll find out why later, why talking about these vertical forces are important. According to the force model, all sets of arrows are equal in length and opposite in direction. Balanced forces. Again, I'm going to get to a little bit later on in the video, or part 2, why this is important. Now, when we look at the free body diagram, it's the same thing. There are no horizontal forces. However, there are two vertical forces acting on the clock. And we find out from the free body diagram that these, again, are equal and opposite. The table is pushing up on the clock, and the earth is pulling down on the clock. So that does conclude part 1 of the video. And we're not going to end here. We're going to do the claim right away. So can we make a good claim from that evidence? You bet we can. If I look at all the evidence, I can make a claim. First of all, here's my claim. Matt is only partially correct with his assumption. Remember, Matt said that the reason why it's not moving is because there are no horizontal forces acting on it. Well, that's partially correct. He's right. So Matt is only partially correct with his assumption that the clock is not moving because there are no horizontal forces acting on it. But Matt fails to mention the vertical forces acting on it. These cancel each other out, thus contributing to the lack of motion. So in other words, you can't just say, that book sitting on your desk, oh, it's not moving because there's no horizontal forces. But there's other forces acting on it. What are those forces acting like? Well, as we can see here, these forces are acting in opposite directions, and they're equal. So this is an odd claim. We've always either been fully supporting a claim or fully distorting a claim this supporting a claim. Here it's kind of, well, he's partially correct. There are no horizontal forces acting on it. That's part of the reason why it's not moving, but the vertical forces acting on it are equal and opposite in direction. So this does conclude part one. Watch part two that will go over the reasoning. And as always, if you have questions, make sure you ask us in class. Thank you.